time to get organized. It's time to get organized. It's time to get yourself together and ready to work. Alright guys, that's the theme song. Anyway, it's time to get organized. This is a crazy time. And I think one of the things that I'm hearing from students that is actually most difficult is just organizing all the communication that's coming to you, all of the work that you suddenly have to do that feels like a lot because it's just coming to you in a different way and you're not used to processing it in that way. You're used to being in a classroom and going from one class to the next and getting assignments handed to you, and on the board it's written what your homework is for that night, and you're given time to put that in your planner. And all of these things that have been in place for you at school to help keep you organized suddenly have kind of disappeared. And I think your teachers and Noble are doing the best to figure out ways to put some of those helpful processes back in place for you. But in the meantime, I think this is a good time to think about how you can get yourself organized. So I'm just going to share a couple of quick tips today. And here is how we're going to organize this video. I think there's 5 steps to this. So here's the 5 steps that I come up with. Number 1, organize your space. Number 2, organize your inbox. Number 3, organize your assignments. Number 4, organize your time. And number 5, get to work. So let's start with number 1, organize your space. I have a space in my basement. This is a desk that I built myself a couple of years ago. It's also where I record music and stuff sometimes. I just cleaned it. It was an absolute disaster until this morning when I brought my kids down here and they watched episodes of Scooby-Doo on my computer, and I just cleaned for like an hour. So step number 1 is to clean, declutter that space. Make it, try to clear away distractions. I also just find that if I'm in a messy space, I can't work well because I just want to clean it in general. So find a space you can kind of clean and make your own. The next thing is to remove distraction from that space. So if you're somebody who's going to be constantly distracted by your phone, maybe consider turning that off or putting that someplace else or giving it to somebody and telling them not to give it back to you until you're done with some work. Whatever works for you. For me, I've got my guitars down here, which is kind of distracting because I always want to play them. So I actually unplug them and put up all the chords right here so that if anything else, I could play them, but it would take longer to have set them up, and then I would just be like, I don't want to do that. I guess I'll just do my work. So think about how you can remove distractions from your space. And then number 3 is just think about how you can block out noise. I think obviously, ideally, you would find a quiet space. But if that's not going to happen for you, make yourself a playlist of songs that will keep you focused. Throw on some headphones and figure that out. I'm going to throw down in the description for this video, I'm going to throw a list of some of my favorite instrumental albums to work to. I find that if there's lyrics playing, especially if I have to read something, I cannot focus to save my life. So I have to listen to instrumental stuff. So I will throw on a list some of my favorite instrumental albums that I use for that in the description of this video below. All right, keeping things moving. Up next, your inbox. How do we organize that? So I think a couple of steps here. Step number 1, you should go through your inbox every once in a while. I'm guilty of waiting too long for this, and just delete everything that you do not need. Any junk mail you got, anything you've already dealt with, anything that you didn't need in the first place, just delete that. Next, go through, you can go to your inbox, and if there's something that's really important that you need to get to, you can star it. So for instance, I got an email from the AP, they want me to take a survey. I want to do that because I wanted to let them know what I think. I'm going to star that, and now I know it's important, and I can always go to starred items and find that. The other thing that I do is I have my inbox set up so everything that is unread is on top, and then the stuff that's already been read is below it. That's how it's organized. I find that this is really helpful. What I always do is if I have an email that has a task in it that I have to respond to, if I read the email, I mark it as unread before I close it, so it stays on the top of my inbox, so I have to deal with it. Let me just give you a quick example of how to do this. So first of all, just to set your inbox up that way, you go over to inbox, click this down button right here, and then use it so it's unread first. If you want to use the method of just starring important things, you can also put starred first. That works well too. My brain works better this way. Find the way that works best for you in the end. And then if you open an email, like let's say there's an email that I really have to get back to. So let's say again, it's this AP email. They want me to take a survey. So before I close out of this, I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to click mark as unread. Because if I click the back button, now I've read this email and now it goes to the bottom and I'll never see it again. So I click mark as unread and now that stays right where it was before so I don't lose that. So that's another tip that I would say. The other thing you can use, I'm not very good at this, so talk to somebody. I think Miss Sweet maybe is really good at this. I know there's a few teachers who are awesome at it. But using folders and labels, there's also probably a million YouTube videos about how to do that. I use it to some degree, but not as efficiently as I probably should. But that is another way. If you're super organized, I'm like medium level organized. If you're super organized, that would be the next step for your inbox. All right, your assignments. This is probably the most important step, and I think this is where people are having the most trouble. But those other two steps, I think, help you get to this point. So the first thing to do with your assignments, because right now you are just getting a big old list. You're not getting a list is what's happening. You are getting a number of emails, different emails from different teachers, probably formatted in slightly different ways. Some are asking for Google Classroom. Some are asking for you to do things in workbooks. Some are asking for you to send videos or recordings. Who knows what it is? But there's all these different things that suddenly you have to do, and suddenly you're on your own to do them. And that's terrifying. I think when I get terrified or concerned about what I need to do, the first thing I do is I make a list. So first thing you could do, take a piece of paper, split it up by all the classes you don't have to work on, and just start listing the individual assignments you have for that class under each one of these things. The way I would do that is I would go back to my email and I would pull up those important emails and I would have a pen in hand and I would just sit here and I would write those things down. So let's say I've got like a problem set for stats, right? Or whatever it is, just sit here, look at your email, write those things down, go through each of those individual emails and put it on paper. I know some of you are saying like, I don't want to put it on paper, like I'm gonna waste some time. It will take you time to do it, but it will keep you organized and it will take away that stress of like, wait, what was in that email from that teacher? Oh no, did I delete that email? Like you start to freak out about those things. But this you can have all in one place and right in front of you. And the best thing about this is when you finish it, then you just go in and do that. And now it's done and you can feel really happy about that. Another really helpful tip, this is for my wife. My wife is a learning specialist, and one of the things she loves to talk about is organizing people's workflow, doing stuff just like this. She loves to show students this one. Write your assignments on Post-it notes, or you could always just like take some index cards and cut them up into little pieces, and you could put those on here. Whatever you want to do, but in one column is all the things you have to do. This will probably be a big one. Things are going to like overlap and stuff, and there's going to be a ton of stuff on this one. Because, you know, at the start of the week, you probably have a lot of work to do. Then decide, prioritize, which things are you going to work on first. I would say don't have more than 3 things in the in progress column. It's okay to be working on a couple of things to bounce back and forth. That's not the worst thing. But if you start too many things, think about how if you have your computer open, you have like 30 tabs open, you know how your computer gets super slow. Same thing's going to happen to your brain if you start on all of these things at the same time and don't finish any of them. So what you do here with this, it's fun. So let's say I finished this task. I had to write poems for my English 4 class. So I finished this, I put it in the done column, and I go, yeah, it's done! And I had to throw a little party for myself. But then I decide, all right, which one of these is the most important, or which one do I really want to add to this next? And let's say it's like, oh yeah, I really need to finish those scholarship applications. So I move over here, and again, I don't add anything from this column to this column until something moves over to this column. And then by the end of the week, you've got everything in the done column. You know it's all done. You feel good. I actually use this when I have a ton of things to work on, or in the summer. I'll use this. I'll have like different things around the house that I'm doing, but I actually use this kind of chart pretty frequently. So that's another thing. I'm going to keep going because I want to get this video not too much over 10 minutes. The next thing to organize, your time. This is another thing that's difficult because right now time has ceased to have any meaning for most of us. Like, what day is it even today? What time is it? I have no clue anymore. I'm in my pajamas like suddenly 10 hours a day. So with this, I think a couple of things. I think choosing a really specific time to work each day, and sort of establishing a routine, a daily routine, is a good idea. So maybe like your brain needs a little bit to get up in the morning. You're usually kind of not awake in first period at school. So, from 8 to 10 o'clock, that's going to be whatever you need to do to get yourself ready. Maybe you do a workout. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you just watch TV for a while, whatever that is. But then you're going to say from like 10 to noon, I'm going to work, and I'm going to eat lunch from noon to 1, and then from like 1 to 3, I'm also going to work. But pick some times that will work for you and the way your brain works, and try to stick to those. Another thing that can work really well is just setting a timer. There's tons of apps and tons of websites you can use. But I would say set a timer for at least like no less than 15 or 20 minutes, I would say. And then once that time is up, how do I start this? I don't even know. I click on it. Start. Once that 15 minutes is up, the next thing on this list is to reward yourself. So you just worked for 15 minutes. You stayed focused. You did something the whole time. Cool. Take a 5-minute break on your phone. Go get a snack. Run a lap around your house. Call a friend real quickly. The important thing here is to not don't reward yourself for like an hour for working for 15 minutes. Reward yourself for like 5 minutes. I think it's also a good idea to work in chunks of 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes. I wouldn't go too much longer than 45 minutes at a time before taking a break, because then you will start to lose focus and you're just going to want to start to do something else, and that's a bad idea. So think about how you best work in those chunks of time and reward yourself for getting the stuff done. And then lastly, with time, stick to your plan, but be flexible. Things are going to come up, and be kind to yourself. So let's say you said you're going to work from 1 to 3, but you forget or something else gets in the way. Don't suddenly freak out about that. Be flexible. Maybe work from 2 to 4 instead of 1 to 3. But also be kind to yourself if you don't get everything done that you need to be done. This is a difficult, stressful time for everybody, so just keep that in mind. That's it, really. The last thing is, once you've got this routine set, just make sure you're getting to work and getting this stuff done. Your teachers have put together a lot of important work that we've set out there for you so that you keep your mind working, and so that you stay on track to be ready for the next grade, be ready for college, whatever it is. We think this work is important. We didn't just send it to you to keep you busy or anything else. We know that if you complete this work, it's going to be the best thing to get you ready for college, to get you ready for the SAT, whatever that thing is. So take the work seriously and get it done. And most of all, we're all here for you. I have loved hearing from my students. Those who have asked me to have quick Google Hangout check-ins, I've loved those. I never see an email from a student go oh, again. It makes me so happy to hear from students, and to hear how you're doing. And it makes me it gives me a little bit of purpose when I get to help somebody. So don't hesitate to reach out to teachers. All right, this video went a little tiny bit longer than I thought it would, but I hope that those tips are helpful. Good luck out there, and I hope you and your family and everybody else in your life are doing well. And you're finding places to keep productive, to keep sane, to keep healthy during this time. But if you need anything, just remember that Noble's here for you. All right? Have a good day.